The night was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel sat in his small wooden house, the only light coming from an old lamp on the table. Outside, the wind moved the dry leaves on the ground, making soft scratching sounds. Daniel was reading a book, trying to enjoy his peaceful evening. But then, something strange happened. There was a knock. Not a normal knock. Not like a neighbor saying hello. It was slow, heavy, and almost trembling. Daniel froze, his heart beating faster. He lived far from the main road. No one came here at night, and yet someone was at his door. He stood up, his chair making a soft creak. He walked to the door, each step sounding too loud in the silence. He placed his hand on the cold metal handle. Another knock came, this one weaker, like whoever was there was losing strength. Daniel took a deep breath and opened the door. There she was, a figure in the dark, small and shaking. The porch light revealed her face, not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost shining under the weak light. Her eyes were large, deep black and full of fear. She was holding something close to her chest, wrapped in a torn blanket. It was a baby, but not like any baby Daniel had ever seen. Its skin had a faint blue glow and small silver scales along the arms. Its eyes were closed, and it made soft clicking sounds instead of crying. The woman looked at Daniel as if begging him without words. Daniel didn't move. His mind was spinning. Who was she? And what was she holding? Why was she at his door in the middle of the night? Before he could ask, she stepped forward. She placed the bundle into his arms. The baby was warm. Daniel looked down, the glow from the child's skin softly lighting his hands. The alien woman's lips trembled. She whispered in a weak voice, "Please, help." Her voice was full of pain. Then she stepped back. Her eyes were wet. Shining under the porch light, Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say a word, she turned and ran into the darkness. Her movements were clumsy, as if she was hurt. She disappeared into the trees without looking back. Daniel stood there, holding the baby, the cold wind touching his face. For a long moment, he could not move. The baby made another small clicking sound. Daniel felt the strange warmth through the blanket. He looked into the forest where the woman had vanished. It was silent again, except for the soft hum from the baby. Something in his heart told him this was not just a lost child. Something dangerous was happening, and now he was a part of it. He closed the door slowly. Locking it, he carried the baby into the living room and placed it gently on the couch. Daniel knelt down, opening the blanket a little more. The glow from the baby's skin grew brighter. It opened its eyes round, shining like liquid silver. Daniel felt a shiver run through his body. He had never seen anything so strange, and yet so alive. The baby made a sound like a small whistle. Daniel wasn't sure if it was hungry, scared, or just curious. He went to the kitchen, searching for something to feed it. All he had was milk, bread, and a few cans of soup. He poured a little milk into a small cup and tried to give it to the baby, but the baby turned its head away instead. It reached its tiny hands toward the fireplace, as if it wanted warmth, not food. Daniel lit the fire. The baby's glow became softer. It made a calm clicking sound, almost like a purr. Daniel sat beside the couch, watching it. The baby's small chest rose and fell slowly. It was asleep now. But Daniel's mind was racing. Why had the woman left the baby with him? Who was she running from? And what would happen if someone came looking for them? He thought of calling the police. But something inside told him not to. He didn't trust that the police would understand or even protect the child outside. A shadow moved past the window. Daniel froze. It was quick, almost like a tall figure moving through the trees. His heart started pounding. He stood and looked out. But the yard was empty. The only thing he could see was the moonlight on the grass. Daniel stepped back, locking all the doors and windows. He turned off the porch light, leaving the house in darkness. The baby was still sleeping. Its glow faint. Daniel sat in the chair, his eyes on the front door. He didn't know what was coming, but deep inside, he knew his life would never be the same again. The first light of morning touched the curtains. Daniel had not slept. He stayed in the chair all night, watching the small alien baby on his couch. It had slept peacefully, but its glow had faded to almost nothing. He wondered if that was normal, or if the baby was getting weaker. Daniel walked quietly to the kitchen. He didn't want to wake the child. He poured a glass of water for himself. Trying to calm his mind every few minutes, his thoughts went back to the alien woman. Her face, her voice, the way she said please, it was burned into his memory. When he returned to the couch, the baby was awake. It was sitting up, looking around the room with its silver eyes. Daniel felt a strange feeling, like the baby was studying him, not like a normal baby staring in wonder. This was something deeper, something aware. The baby made a soft clicking sound. Daniel spoke softly. "Hey there. You hungry?" The baby tilted its head. Daniel tried again with the milk, but just like last night, the child turned away. Its tiny hands reached toward the window instead. The sunlight was starting to come in. The baby touched the beam of light and made a soft purring noise. Daniel knelt closer. Its small fingers shimmered in the sun, almost transparent. He noticed something new, thin silver lines running under the skin like veins. But instead of blood, they seemed to carry light. Every movement made them shine softly. Suddenly, the baby's eyes flicked to the window. Daniel followed its gaze. Out in the yard, something moved. A shadow, tall and thin, sliding past the trees. His stomach tightened. It wasn't the woman. This shape moved differently, slow, deliberate, and then it was gone. Daniel pulled the curtains shut. His heart was beating fast. The baby made a quiet, worried sound, almost like it understood the danger. He sat back on the couch. "Don't worry," he whispered. "You're safe here." But in his mind, he wasn't so sure if that shadow was searching for the baby. It would find the house eventually. Daniel didn't even know what they were dealing with. The woman had said nothing about who was after them, or why the baby climbed onto his lap. Its weight surprisingly warm. It looked up at him, blinking. Slowly, Daniel felt a strange calm in that moment, like the baby was trying to tell him something without words. And then he realized the clicking sound wasn't random. It had a pattern. Short, short, long, short, almost like a code. Daniel didn't understand it, but the sound made him think of communication. Was the baby trying to talk to him in its own way? He tried repeating the sound with his tongue. The baby froze. Then it made the same sound again, exactly the same. Daniel felt a small smile form on his face. They were talking. Not with words, but something more basic, something old, but the moment was cut short. A low hum filled the air. It wasn't coming from inside the house, it was outside. Daniel moved to the window carefully and peeked through the smallest gap in the curtain. His breath caught at the edge of the woods. He saw them, 3 tall figures in black armor. Their helmets had no eyes, only a smooth, dark surface. Each one carried a long weapon, glowing faint red at the tips. They moved slowly, scanning the ground. One of them raised a device that let out a pulse of blue light. Daniel could feel it in his bones. The baby began to glow again, faint but noticeable. Daniel turned quickly, pulling the blanket around it. The glow faded, but not completely. He whispered, "She." Stay quiet. His mind was racing. These things were hunting, and if they came closer, they would see the glow. The hum outside grew louder. Daniel backed away from the window. His hands were sweating. The baby held onto his shirt, looking at him with those silver eyes. It wasn't afraid. It was watching, like it had seen this before. The footsteps outside were closer now. Daniel could hear the crunch of boots on dry leaves. He thought about running, but where? The baby needed warmth. The woman might still be out there, and Daniel. He couldn't just hand the baby over. He didn't even know why. But something deep inside told him this child was important. Then, just as suddenly as they came, the sound began to fade. The hum moved away. The footsteps grew distant. Daniel didn't move until the forest was silent again. Only then did he breathe out. But he knew this was not the end. They would come back, and next time. They might not leave without searching the house. Daniel looked down at the baby. It was still watching him, and in that moment, Daniel knew one thing for certain. Whatever was happening, he was not going to let them take the child. The day passed slowly. Daniel kept the curtains closed and the doors locked. The baby stayed close to him, sometimes in his arms, sometimes on the couch. It didn't cry, but every now and then it made those soft clicking sounds. Daniel felt like it was trying to comfort him instead of the other way around. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't stop thinking about the armored hunters, their slow movements, their strange scanning devices. The way the baby's glow reacted to their presence, it all felt too dangerous. He needed answers. The sun was low in the sky when Daniel heard something outside, not the heavy, slow footsteps of the hunters. This was lighter, uneven, like someone weak or injured. He grabbed a small flashlight and stepped toward the door quietly. The baby tilted its head as if it already knew who was coming. Daniel opened the door a little, and there she was, the alien woman from last night. Her silver skin was duller now, her black eyes half closed. She was breathing hard, clutching her side. She looked like she had been running for hours, without thinking. Daniel stepped aside. "Come in," he whispered. She staggered inside. Almost falling to the floor, the baby reached out from the couch, making a sharp, loud click. The woman's eyes filled with tears as she crawled to the child and held it close. Daniel shut the door quickly. He could see she was in pain. Her left arm had a deep burn, and her clothes were torn. He ran to the kitchen, grabbed a clean towel and some water. When he came back, the woman was rocking the baby, whispering something in a language he didn't understand. He knelt beside her. "Who are they?" he asked softly. "The ones in the black armor?" Her breathing was heavy, but she looked at him. "They hunters," she said slowly, her voice weak. "They want, baby, power." Daniel frowned. "Power." She nodded. Her hand touched the baby's chest gently. "Life energy. Last of my kind." She looked at Daniel, her black eyes sharp despite her weakness. "If they take, millions die." The words hit him hard. This was no normal child. It was something far bigger, something that could change worlds. Daniel felt a weight settle in his chest. He had been pulled into something far more dangerous than he imagined. The woman winced in pain. Daniel carefully wrapped the towel around her arm. "You need food," he said. She shook her head. "Not food. Heat." Daniel blinked, remembering how the baby reacted to warmth. He lit the fireplace. The woman closed her eyes, letting the soft glow touch her skin, slowly. The silver color in her cheeks returned. For a moment, there was silence. Daniel sat opposite her, watching her breathe more steadily. The baby rested between them, making soft sounds. It felt almost peaceful. But then, a low hum came from outside. Daniel's body tensed immediately. The woman's eyes snapped open. She clutched the baby tightly. "They come," she whispered. Daniel grabbed the flashlight and turned it off immediately. The room was lit only by the fire now. Shadows danced across the walls. Through the smallest gap in the curtain, Daniel saw movement. 2 hunters were in the yard, scanning again. One of them pointed toward the house. Daniel's heart pounded. Had they tracked the mother's trail here? The woman reached into the folds of her clothes and pulled out a small metallic object. It was round, covered in strange markings. She pressed it into Daniel's hand. If they find, run. Protect, baby. Daniel shook his head. I'm not leaving you. But she looked at him with an expression that told him she didn't expect to survive if they were caught. The hum outside grew louder. A faint blue pulse passed over the house. The baby's glow started to return. The woman whispered something to the child in her own language. The baby made a soft, sad sound. Daniel's throat tightened. He had no idea what was about to happen. But he could feel the fear in the air. One of the hunters walked up to the porch, heavy footsteps on the wooden boards. The shadow of its tall frame moved across the door. Daniel held his breath. The woman clutched the baby. Her eyes closed, and then the hunter stepped away. It moved back toward the trees. The hum began to fade again. After a long minute, they were gone. Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The woman opened her eyes. They not stop. They come again. She said softly. Daniel nodded. He knew she was right, and now, with both the mother and baby under his roof, he had even more reason to protect them. No matter the risk, he wasn't going to let the hunters win. The next morning, the air was heavy. The sky was gray, clouds moving low over the hills. Daniel stood by the window, careful to keep himself hidden behind the curtain. Down the road, he could see movement in the distance. Not just one or two figures, but several. The hunters were no longer hiding in the forest. They were walking openly through the small town. Daniel's stomach tightened. They weren't just searching his area anymore. They were spreading out. He could see their black armor shining even in the weak light. Every step they took was slow but certain, like they knew no one could stop them. The mother sat on the couch, holding the baby close. Her eyes were fixed on Daniel. They search? All houses, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. It was only a matter of time before they reached his home from the window. He watched as the hunters passed the old grocery store. They didn't go inside. Instead, one of them raised a strange device. It released a sharp pulse of blue light that spread like a wave. Daniel felt the vibration even from here. The mother winced, tightening her arms around the child. The baby made a small clicking sound, its glow flickering faintly under the blanket. Daniel understood that pulse was some kind of scanner. It was looking for the baby's energy if they got close enough. The scanner would find them immediately. He turned away from the window, his mind racing. We need to move, he said. The mother shook her head. Not yet. Too many? Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She was planning something. Daniel could see it. An hour passed. The hunters moved slowly, going street by street. Some people in town were watching from their porches. Others stayed. Inside, Daniel wondered what they thought these strangers were. Soldiers? Police? Or something worse? No one seemed willing to go near them. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. Daniel jumped. It came from the center of town. Through the curtain, he saw smoke rising. The hunters had broken into a building, the old library. For a moment, Daniel thought they were destroying it. But then he saw them dragging something out. It was a man, one of Daniel's neighbors. They dropped him to the ground and scanned him with the device. The light passed over him, and the hunters moved on. The man didn't get up. Daniel's fists clenched. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't just searching, it was hurting people. The mother's voice broke his thoughts. They looked for baby's signal, she said. Her gaze went to the blanket in her arms. If too close. No hide. Daniel paced the small living room. He thought about running now, while the hunters were busy in town. But if they saw him leave, it would be over. The baby's glow couldn't be hidden forever. He needed another plan. Then he remembered. The old community shelter on the edge of town. It had thick, concrete walls, built decades ago. If they could hide there, maybe the scanners wouldn't work. But getting there meant crossing part of the main road right where the hunters were. Before he could decide, there was a knock at the back door. Daniel froze. The mother pulled the baby closer. The knock came again, quick and nervous. Daniel moved carefully to the door and opened it just enough to see. It was Sarah, his neighbor from 2 houses down. Her eyes were wide, her hands shaking. "They're coming this way," she whispered. "They're checking every home. You have maybe 20 minutes. Daniel's chest tightened. He glanced back at the mother. She had already stood up. "Ready to move? Why are you helping me?" Daniel asked. Sarah looked past him into the room. "I saw you take them in last night," she said softly. "I don't know what's going on, but I know those things out there aren't here to help." Before he could reply, she slipped away. Disappearing into the trees, Daniel closed the door quickly. 20 minutes, that was nothing. He grabbed a small backpack and shoved in water, bread, and a blanket. The mother didn't need to be told what was happening. She was already adjusting the baby's wrap so the glow wouldn't show. They moved out the back door. The forest behind the house was quiet. Every step Daniel took felt loud. They stayed. Low, moving between the trees, the sound of the hunter's hum was still faint in the distance. But it was getting closer when they reached the edge of the trees. Daniel could see the road. 2 hunters stood at the far end, their armor gleaming. They were scanning again, the blue pulse sweeping slowly toward them. Daniel's breath caught. They had seconds before the wave reached this spot. He grabbed the mother's hand. "This way," he whispered. They slipped into the drainage tunnel that ran under the road. The space was dark and damp, but the thick walls blocked the hum for a moment. There was only the sound of dripping water. The mother looked at Daniel. Her voice was almost a whisper. "They will not stop." Daniel nodded. He knew she was right, and somewhere deep inside. He realized something else. He was no longer just hiding them. He was going to fight for them. The drainage tunnel was cold and damp. Water dripped from cracks above. Echoing in the narrow space, Daniel's back pressed against the wall as he listened for any sound from outside. For now, it was quiet, but quiet didn't mean safe. The mother sat on the ground, cradling the baby. Its glow was faint under the blanket. Daniel crouched in front of her. "We can't keep running without a plan," he said. "They'll find us no matter where we hide." The mother nodded slowly, her black eyes locked on his. "You must know what you protect," she said softly. Daniel frowned. "I know it's important," he replied. "But I don't know why." She took a deep breath, her voice low. "My people. Almost gone," she began. "Long ago. We lived in many worlds." Her gaze dropped to the child. "This one. Last born of my kind." Daniel felt the weight of her words sink in. "Last?" he repeated. She nodded. "The hunters. Work for those who destroyed us." Her hand brushed the baby's cheek. "They want its core." Daniel's brow furrowed. "Core." The mother's eyes darkened. "Inside. Pure life energy," she explained, "can heal worlds. Or burn them." Her voice trembled. "They will use it for war. To end millions." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at the baby, so small, so fragile, yet carrying something powerful enough to change the galaxy. His hands clenched. "If that's true, then I can't let them have it," he said firmly. "I'll protect you both." The mother studied his face for a moment. "You say this, but danger will grow." Daniel gave a small, determined nod. "I'm not afraid," he said, even though fear twisted in his stomach. The baby made a small sound. Its silver eyes opened, staring right at Daniel. For a moment, he felt a strange warmth in his mind, not physical warmth, but something else, like a thought that wasn't his. The feeling was clear. Trust. Daniel blinked, unsure if he imagined it. But the baby's gaze didn't waver. It clicked softly, almost like answering. Him, the mother noticed and gave a small smile. "She speaks to you," she said quietly. Daniel stared. "She?" The mother nodded. "Her name is Leora." The name seemed to settle in Daniel's mind. Leora, the last of her kind, and now. She was looking at him like she understood more than any baby should. Suddenly, a low vibration rolled through the tunnel. Daniel stiffened. It was the hunter's hum. Faint but growing, they scan again. The mother whispered. Daniel looked down the dark tunnel. "We can't stay here," he said. "They'll trap us inside." They moved quickly. The tunnel led out into the forest beyond town. Branches scratched Daniel's arms as they pushed through thick undergrowth. The hum behind them grew sharper every time it pulsed. Leora's glow brightened slightly. Daniel pulled the blanket tighter around her. After what felt like hours, they reached a rocky hill. The mother stopped, breathing hard. "In there," she said, pointing to a narrow opening between two boulders. Daniel squeezed through first, then helped her inside. The space was small, but hidden a hollow in the rock, just big enough for them to rest. Inside, the air was warm. Daniel noticed strange symbols carved into the stone. They glowed faintly, like the baby's skin. The mother touched one of the carvings. "This place." "Safe," she whispered. "Old shelter." "From my people." Daniel sat down, looking around. "How long can we stay here?" he asked. The mother hesitated. "Not long. Hunters will not stop." Her eyes met his again. "You must decide soon. Run far or fight." The word fight stuck in his mind. He had no weapons, no plan, but he did have something, a growing connection to the child. He could feel it even now, like a faint thread tying them together. And maybe, just maybe, that connection could be more than just feelings. Before he could say anything, Leora reached out and touched his hand. A sudden rush of images flashed in his mind. Bright worlds filled with silver cities, skies full of strange ships. Then darkness, fire, destruction, and finally the image of the hunters. Standing over lifeless ground, Daniel gasped and pulled his hand back. His breathing quickened. "What was that?" he asked. The mother's expression was calm. "She showed you." Truth. Daniel looked at the baby again. Leora's silver eyes seemed older now, like she had seen too much. He swallowed hard. "They can't have her," he said, his voice low but steady. "They'll have to go through me first." The mother didn't smile, she only nodded. The hum outside was gone for now, but Daniel knew it was only a matter of time before it returned. And when it did, he would be ready, one way or another. The rocky hollow was quiet, too quiet. Daniel sat with his back against the stone wall, the baby Leora resting in his arms. The mother sat nearby, her eyes closed, but Daniel knew she wasn't asleep. She was listening, every muscle tense. Hours had passed since they heard the hunter's hum, but Daniel's instincts told him they hadn't gone far. He kept thinking about the images Leora had shown him. The silver cities, the destruction, the black-armored hunters walking through ash. It wasn't just a warning, it was a future he didn't want to see. Suddenly, the mother's eyes opened. "They move." "Closer," she whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. "How do you know?" She touched her temple. "I feel them. Same way Leora speaks to you." Daniel leaned forward. "Then we have to go now." The mother nodded. She pulled a small silver disc from her clothing, the same object she had given him before. "This will hide us?" "For a short time," she said. Daniel stared at the disc. "How short?" She hesitated. "Maybe minutes." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then we use those minutes to run." They left the hollow, slipping between the boulders. Into the forest, the air was heavy, the light dim under the thick canopy. The mother held Leora close, the blanket tight around her small, glowing form. Daniel moved ahead, clearing the path quietly. Every few steps, he stopped to listen. The hum was faint, but it was there. Growing, the silver disc in the mother's hand pulsed once. A thin shimmer of light spread out around them like a bubble. Daniel felt the air change. It was cooler inside the shimmer. The hum outside dimmed. "They cannot see us now," the mother whispered, "but they can still hear." They moved quickly. Daniel's boots sank into damp earth, the smell of moss and wet leaves filling his nose. Every sound felt louder than it should. The snap of a twig, the rustle of branches. He could feel time running out through the trees ahead. He saw movement. 3 hunters were sweeping the forest, their black armor cutting through the shadows. One of them raised the scanner. Daniel froze. The shimmer around them held, but he could feel it weakening. The mother's breathing was faster now. "Go," she urged. They moved to the left, skirting around the hunters. Daniel kept his eyes on the ground, avoiding dry leaves. The shimmer flickered once faint, but visible. One of the hunters' helmets turned slightly. Daniel's heart pounded. They had seconds. They burst into a narrow clearing. Ahead was the old forest trail. Daniel knew it would lead to the river. "If we can reach the river, we can lose them," he said. The mother nodded, clutching Leora tighter. The shimmer around them pulsed again, weaker this time. Daniel could feel it. The disk's power was almost gone. A sharp metallic sound cut through the forest. Daniel turned. One of the hunters had fired something. A thin spear of red light hit a tree beside them, exploding the wood into burning splinters. "Run!" Daniel shouted. They sprinted down the trail. Branches whipped Daniel's face. The ground uneven beneath his feet. Behind them, the hum roared. No more hiding. The hunters were coming fast. The mother stumbled, but Daniel caught her arm, pulling her forward. The river's rushing sound grew louder. They were close, but so were the hunters. The first one appeared behind them, its long weapon aimed. Daniel grabbed a rock from the trail and threw it as hard as he could. It hit the hunter's helmet, making it stagger for a moment. That moment was enough. They reached the riverbank, the water wide and fast. Daniel looked at the mother. "There's no bridge," he said. She stepped to the edge. "We jump." Daniel stared at the current. It looked deadly, but the hunters were breaking through the trees now, weapons ready. He nodded. "Hold her tight." They leaped together. The cold water slammed into Daniel like a wall. The current pulled him under, spinning him. He fought to keep his head above water, his eyes searching for the mother and Leora. For a terrifying second, he saw nothing. Then a silver glow appeared ahead. The mother, holding the baby high above the water. They let the river carry them. The hunters' shapes on the bank grew smaller. One of them fired, but the shots hissed into the water far behind. Daniel's arms burned from the effort of swimming. The current finally began to slow, and they drifted toward the muddy bank. They collapsed onto the shore, gasping for air. Daniel rolled onto his back, staring at the gray sky. The mother held Leora close. Checking her carefully, the baby clicked softly. Unharmed, Daniel sat up, water dripping from his hair. "We're not safe yet," he said, between breaths, "but we bought ourselves some time." The mother looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Time is all we need to decide," she said. Daniel nodded. He didn't know where they would go next. But one thing was certain, he was not letting go of them. Not now, not ever. The rain had started. Cold drops fell through the trees, soaking Daniel's shirt as he pushed forward along the riverbank. The mother followed close behind, Leora wrapped tightly in the blanket. The forest was silent except for the sound of the rushing water, but Daniel knew that silence wouldn't last. They had escaped the hunters for now, but he could feel it. They were still out there, somewhere beyond the trees, following the trail. Daniel's legs ached, but he didn't stop. Every step forward was a step away from danger. The mother's breathing was uneven. She had used too much of her strength. Daniel slowed his pace, letting her catch up. "We need to rest," he said. She shook her head, no. They close, through the rain. A faint hum began to rise. Daniel's chest tightened. He knew that sound too well. The hunters were back on their trail. And this time, there would be no hiding. They reached a rocky slope that led up to a cliffside. Daniel remembered this place. An old cabin stood at the top, abandoned for years. If they could reach it, maybe they could make a stand. He turned to the mother. "Up there," he said, pointing. She nodded without a word. The climb was steep. Daniel pushed himself, helping the mother when she slipped. Leora stayed silent in her arms, her silver eyes watching everything. Halfway up, the hum grew louder, through the rain. Daniel caught glimpses of black armor moving below. They were coming fast. They reached the cabin just as the first hunter stepped into view at the base of the slope. The door was half broken, but Daniel shoved it open, inside. It smelled of dust and old wood. There was a fireplace, a table, and a few broken chairs. No weapons. No tools, nothing useful. Daniel cursed under his breath. The mother placed Leora on the table, pulling the silver disc from her clothing again. "This will hide her," she said. Daniel shook his head. "They'll still find us." The mother's black eyes met his. "Then we fight." The hum outside became a roar. Boots hit the ground hard as the hunters approached the cabin. Daniel's heart pounded. He had no real weapon. Only his fists and a heavy chair leg he broke from the frame. The mother stood beside him, her silver skin faintly glowing now. She was ready to defend her child. The first hunter stepped through the door. Daniel swung the chair leg with all his strength, hitting its helmet. The blow made it stumble, but it didn't fall. It swung its weapon toward him before it could. Fire. The mother raised her hand. A burst of bright heat exploded from her palm. The hunter crashed into the wall. Its armor smoking, the second hunter entered. Moving faster, Daniel tackled it, grabbing its arm before it could aim. The strength of the thing was inhuman. It threw him to the floor. Pain shot through his back. Before it could finish him, the mother struck again. This time, the light from her hand burned through its armor, forcing it to retreat. But the third hunter was already inside. It ignored Daniel and the mother, its black visor fixed on Leora. The baby's glow grew brighter, her clicking sounds turning sharp and loud. The hunter reached for her. Daniel's blood ran cold. He lunged forward, grabbing the hunter's weapon. They struggled, the barrel of the weapon inches from Leora in that moment. Daniel heard a voice, not in his ears, but in his head. It was Leora. "Protect." "Father." The word froze him for a second. Then a rush of energy filled his arms. He pushed with all his strength, knocking the weapon away and slamming the hunter to the ground. The mother joined him, the glow from her body now almost blinding. The hunter let out a distorted sound as the light engulfed it. When the glow faded, the cabin was silent. The hunters were gone. Only the rain outside remained. Daniel dropped to his knees, breathing hard. The mother picked up Leora, who was calm. Again, she looked at Daniel with quiet respect. "You choose? Protect her. Even if it means your life," she said. Daniel nodded. There was never another choice. The mother stepped closer. "Then you are her family now," she said. Daniel looked at Leora, the small glowing child who had somehow changed everything. She reached out a tiny hand, touching his cheek in his mind. He felt the same warmth as before. Not just trust, this time love. They couldn't stay in the cabin. The hunters might return with more. But for now, the forest was quiet. Daniel looked out into the rain. Wherever they went next, they would go together. And if the hunters came again, they would find that this human was ready for them.